Today we're going to learn about how you can find the absolute value of any rational number. Now, a couple of things to remember is absolute value means the distance from zero. So that's what we're going to be finding, is how far is the number from zero. The symbols we'll be looking at is the absolute value. Remember that these straight lines mean find the absolute value of the number. So we would read this, the absolute value of A means find the absolute value of A, which is the distance from zero. Okay, and here's the important thing. Remember that the distance is positive. So the absolute value will never be negative. So that's important to remember. Okay, we're going to be doing these exercises today in our books. There are also some lessons that you'll be going over later. Let's go ahead and look at the first slide here. Okay, so this first slide talks about a couple of things. You should be taking this down in your book on page 43. Yes, page 43 in your book. There's a graph at the top. Be taking that down. Just write this down on that graph on the top. So if we look at this, the absolute value is, we'd read this, the absolute value of -4 is 4. Why is it 4? No, it's not, because it's the opposite. It's because it's the distance from zero. It says it right here, the distance from zero. The absolute value is not the opposite. Don't get that confused, okay? The absolute value is the distance from zero, okay? So we'd read this one, the absolute value of 5 equals, no, not -5, it equals 5. Because it's 5 units from zero. It's not the opposite. It's how far is it from zero. How far is it from zero, not the opposite. Don't get this confused with the opposite. Okay? How far is it from zero? Another thing you'll be talking about here is the magnitude. Often you'll be asked maybe what's the magnitude? And the magnitude is the measure of a measurement is the absolute value of its measure. So it's, in other words, the absolute value and the magnitude are basically the same thing. So let's go ahead and look at a couple of more of these questions. Okay, so on this first one, the absolute value of -6 is what? Very good, it is 6. And why is it 6? No, it's 6 because it's 6 from zero, not because it's the opposite. Remember that. It's not the opposite. It is 6 units from zero. Now, we need another number that has the same absolute value. So who can give me another number that has the same absolute value? No, we started with -6. It's not -6. We already know that -6 has the absolute value of 6. Who has another number that has the absolute value of 6? Oh, thank you. Okay, yes, it's 6. 6 has the same absolute value because the absolute value of 6 is 6 because it's 6 units from zero. Okay, so the absolute value of 8 is, please somebody say the right answer. Yes, the absolute value of 8 is 8. Thank you. And why is it 8? Why is it 8? Yes, it's 8 because it's 8 units from there. And what is a number that has the same absolute value on this one? No, we already started with 8. It's not 8. What has the same absolute value as 8? Yes, -8. And what are these two numbers? 8 and -8 are what kind of numbers? Opposites. Yes, those are opposites, and opposites have the same absolute value. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next one here. The absolute value of -1 is 1. And why is it -1? No, not because of the opposite. If another student says it's the opposite, I'm going to slap you. It's not because it's the opposite. It's because it's how far is it from zero. That's what the absolute value is how far is it from zero, okay? Not the opposite. Don't get it confused. We've already talked about that. Okay, and another number that has that same absolute value is 1. All right. Okay, now the absolute value to find the magnitude. So Miss Owen received a call from bank because she had a check balance of negative 45. What is the magnitude she is overdrawn? So is a balance of negative 45 a good thing in your check account? No. You said your mom had a negative balance the other day in her checking account. Not a good thing, is it? No, it's not. Okay. So what's the magnitude of that? The magnitude of that is 45. So again, remember the magnitude is just wanting to know how the absolute value of it, basically. It's another word for the absolute value. Okay, so we're just going to go some of those problems. Remember, we aren't doing every one of the exercises. Maria was sick of the flu. Her weight changed as a result. Represents a minus 4 pounds. How much weight did she lose? She lost 4 pounds. Yes. So we would say on this, she lost 4 pounds. We wouldn't say she lost a negative 4 pounds. Okay, that's what we would do on that one. She lost that one. Okay. Julia used the absolute value to find the distance between 0 and 6 on the number line. She then wrote a similar statement to represent the distance of 0 and negative 6. Below is her work. Is it correct? What do you guys think? Is it correct? Yes, it's correct? Okay. You just failed. What do you mean it's correct? So the absolute value of 6 is 6. Do you guys believe that? Yes, and the absolute value of negative 6 is negative 6. Yes, yes. We just talked about this. How far is 6 from 0? 6. How far is negative 6 from 0? Negative 6. Let's go back. The distance is always what? Distance is always positive, so the absolute value will never be what? Absolute will never be negative, will it? So it will always be positive. Okay? Whoops, went too far. You guys are driving me crazy. Okay? So 6, the absolute value of 6 is 6. The absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6. So, no, she is not correct. The absolute value of negative 6 should be 6. Okay. All right, in math class, Carla and Angela are debating about integers and absolute value. Carla said 2 integers can have the same absolute value, and Angela said 1 integer can have 2 absolute value. Who is right? Defend your answer. So what do you guys think? Is Carl right? 2 integers can have the same absolute value. Is that right? What do you guys think? It's not right. Angela's right. So give me an example of an integer that has 2 absolute values. Can't do it, can you? How about, is there 2 numbers that have the same integer? Yes, thank you. You were paying attention, weren't you? Look at the last slide. The absolute value of 6 is 6, and the absolute value of negative 6 is 6. So there's your example of two different integers that have the same absolute value. So that is the case. So Carl is right because opposites, and that's what we talked about, that opposites have the same absolute value because they're both the same distance from 0. But every integer has only one absolute value because it has only one distance from 0. So Carl was right on that one. All right, the bank teller has 2 customers with transactions. One customer has $25 withdrawal and savings account. The other customer made a $15 deposit. Use the absolute value to show the size of each transaction. Which transaction involved more money? Which one do you want? $25 withdrawn from your account or $15 deposit from your account? Do you want the $25 withdrawn from your account? I want to be your banker. Okay, let me be your banker. Okay, we talked about this. Negative 25, the absolute value of that is 25. And the absolute value is 15. Again, the negative withdrawal takes it out of your account. Deposit puts it in. So the greatest one is the first transaction involved the most money because 25 is greater. All right. So let's go on to this last one here. Which number is furthest from 0? Use the absolute value. So we have the absolute value of negative 7 3/4 is 7 3/4. The absolute value of 7.5 is 7.5. Why is that? Because I said so. Because how far they are from 0. Do I have to tell you that again? That's why it's that. Okay, we talked about it. It's because this is 7 3/4 from 0. How many times do I have to tell you that's what the absolute value is? Would you pay attention? Okay, can we go on now? Okay, which one of these is larger? 7.5? No, 7 3/4 is the greater. So 7 3/4 is greater than 7.5. So negative 7 3/4 is further from 0. Okay, get on to the problem set, guys. I'm done.